Welcome to Aviator DB News Briefing. Today is Sunday, May 3rd, 2026. Here's a look at weather across the nation today. In the East Coast, New York is looking at overcast with a high of 59 and a low of 41. In the central U.S., Chicago is looking at light drizzle with a high of 67 and a low of 40. In the West Coast, Los Angeles is looking at overcast with a high of 66 and a low of 57. Here are today's top stories. Passenger sues Delta over injuries in 2024 Seattle fire evacuation. China Southern orders 137 Airbus A320neos worth $21.4 billion. Spirit Airlines ceases operations following failed bailout talks. Now for the details. Seattle. A passenger has filed a federal lawsuit against Delta Airlines over injuries sustained during an emergency evacuation following an electrical fire at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport in May 2024. The lawsuit alleges that a 61-year-old woman suffered a twisted ankle, bruises, and back injuries after using an emergency slide during the May 6, 2024 evacuation of an Airbus A321neo N54DZ. The flight, arriving from Cancun, Mexico, experienced an electrical fire at the nose area ground power receptacle shortly after landing. Pilots ordered an immediate evacuation while passengers remained aboard. Under the Montreal Convention, Delta's liability is typically capped at approximately $2,108.53 per passenger for bodily injuries on international flights. The suit, filed in April 2026, claims the evacuation was handled negligently. Industry analysis suggests the ground power unit, not the aircraft itself, was the likely ignition source. The NTSB investigation into the ground equipment connection remains open. China Southern Airlines and its subsidiary Xiamen Airlines have ordered 137 Airbus A320neo family aircraft in a deal valued at $21.4 billion at catalog list prices, according to a Shanghai Stock Exchange filing. The order includes 102 aircraft for China Southern valued at $15.8 billion and 35 for Xiamen Airlines at $5.6 billion. Actual transaction values are expected to be significantly lower due to substantial discounts typically negotiated for large orders. The fleet expansion aims to capture rising travel demand in the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau, Greater Bay Area, and Belt and Road Initiative regions. Deliveries for China Southern are scheduled between 2028 and 2032, with Xiamen Airlines receiving its aircraft between 2029 and 2032. The announcement continues a trend of major Chinese carriers favoring Airbus aircraft, with no recent Boeing orders publicized since 2017. The transaction remains subject to shareholder approval and regulatory clearance. Industry analysts note the order underscores stabilizing demand and long-term growth planning in Asia, strengthening China Southern's narrow-body fleet for high-traffic economic corridors. Funding will come from a combination of internal resources and external financing. Spirit Airlines ceases operations following failed bailout talks. ANN Aviation Desk. Spirit Airlines ceased all operations at 3 a.m. on May 3, 2026. Abruptly canceling 277 flights nationwide. The shutdown marks the end of the ultra-low-cost carrier after 30 to 34 years of service. Impact on passengers and crew. The closure left over 50,000 passengers from the previous day stranded and more than 300 crew members needing repatriation. Spirit described the closure as an orderly wind down, with its website advising customers not to travel to airports. Employees, including pilots and flight attendants, are jobless and not reporting for duty. Bailout negotiations. The shutdown followed failed negotiations for a $500 million federal bailout from the Trump administration, which proposed taking a 90% stake in the company. Late Friday, the Trump administration insisted it was still weighing the $500 million deal, but talks ultimately failed. Reasons for closure. Spirit Airlines CEO attributed the decision to a recent material increase in oil prices and other pressures on the business. The CEO stated, "With no additional funding available, Spirit had no choice but to begin this wind down. This is tremendously disappointing and not the outcome any of us wanted." The final trigger included surging oil prices linked to the Iran war and a bankruptcy filing since 2024. Official response. The U.S. Department of Transportation announced that major airlines, United, Delta, JetBlue, Southwest, will cap ticket prices for a limited period to help stranded Spirit passengers rebook. Analysts note the sudden halt leaves thousands of workers jobless, with the administration now coordinating with other U.S. carriers for support. References 1. ABC News YouTube 2. CBS News YouTube 3. Flight Radar 24 blog. That's all we have for today. You can get the latest aviation news at aviatordb.com.